Good day, everyone. You are welcome to today's class. Today, we're considering calculation on angle of elevation that involve two vertical poles being placed in line with a particular point on the same level ground. Let's look at the question critically. Diagram is required in this type of question. Okay, now let's see the feet of two vertical poles of height 3 meter and 7 meter are in line with a point P on the ground. This is the level ground. Let's call this point P. But in the first statement, you don't know where these poles will be placed. You continue reading. The smaller pole being between the taller pole and P. Okay, let's assume the smaller pole. So at this point, the taller pole is here based on the statement. The smaller pole being between the taller pole and P. You can see in between. And at a distance, continue the statement, that means that the smaller pole is at a distance of 20 meter from P. 20 meter from P. And the angle of elevation of the top T from the top R. Okay, he given here to be top R. The angle of elevation means is you at a point at which you look up to see the top of the taller pole. You raise your head up. That means that this is the normal eye meniscus, normal eye level at which human being look straight normally. But when you want to carry out the angle of elevation at the normal eye sight, you raise it up. That's angle of elevation. But if you are bringing it down, that's the angle of depression. But in this question, we are dealing with angle of elevation because we are told that the angle of elevation of the top T from the top R of the smaller pole is 30 degrees. This angle of elevation, 30 degrees from the normal eyesight. We are not told to calculate distance RT. This distance, RT. And also the distance of the foot from the taller pole, from point P. Correct the tracing and figures. Okay, let's represent from here to be K. Okay, now the total distance, let's call it Y, equals K plus 20. Okay, K plus 20 in meters to the end of this line at the point P. Okay, we're not told look for the distance from the foot of from the taller pole from point P. I have to correct the trace in one figure, and also the angle of elevation of the top T from P. The angle at which you look up to look from P to look at this T, the top T. Now draw the line. This point. Okay. It's not automatically to fall on this line. Let me say you draw your line to be here at this point. You can still draw it to meet this point. But my own line stop here. That's why I drew it to this point. Okay, let's call it angle theta. It's letter R. Let's call this side. Let's call this place to be and represent it with any letter. I want to call my own to be W. I'll call this one to be S. Okay. Now, let's represent between here T and W. Let's represent it to be x, and from W to R, let's represent to be um, Q, and from T to R, let's represent to be letter A. Okay. Now from here, you can carry on to solve the problem. Now let's consider triangle. This symbol for triangle, TWR first. Okay. When you consider that, you're having our triangle to be in this form. This TWR angle 30 degree is we represent this to be X, Q, and A. Don't forget this the opposite to this angle. Opposite. This is hypotenuse, the longest side. This is the adjacent. Okay, it's a right angle triangle. Okay, it's a right angle triangle. Now from here, you have to know what called SOHCAHTOA in trigonometry. SOHCAHTOA. S stands for sine. Theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cos theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Tan theta equals to opposite over adjacent. In this case, since we are looking for x, are we giving the total distance? Okay, we are giving the height of the two poles. The smaller pole is 3 meters, while the taller pole is 7 meters. Okay, to get, you're giving the distance here, you can get what is x. Our x is 7 minus 3, but total length is 7, and from this point, let's call it RZ. Let's call this RZ. RZ. The smaller pole is RZ. And you remove the smaller pole from the taller pole to know the distance left. 7 minus 3, you having 4. Okay? That means we know our x, this distance TW, to be 4. Know it to be 4. From here, you can use so, that is sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse, because since we are having opposite and we have the opposite, we have the angle, we need to look for the hypotenuse so that you can get distance RT. Now, sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Now, what's our theta? Angle, sine 30 degree equals what are opposite? That's 4 over hypotenuse. We represent our hypotenuse to be A, that's 4 over A. This over 1 cross multiply. You're having A sine 30 degree equals to 4. 1 times 4 will give us 4. A times sine 30 degree will give us A sine 30 degree. Divide both sides. Divide both sides by sine 30 degree to get our A. Now A sine 30 degree divided by sine 30 degree equals 4 divided by sine 30 degree. Sine 30 degree will cancel sine 30 degree. You are left with, let's still leave our diagram. You are left with A, let's put it here, A to be equals to 4 divided by, what's sine 30 degree? That's half. This half together 0.5. That's A now equals 4 over 1 divided by 1 over 2, which is 4 over 1. Change division to multiplication. The denominator move to the numerator, numerator comes to the denominator. You interchange it, goes 2 over 1. That's when you are changing division to multiplication. 4 times 2 divided by 1, that's 8 meters. Okay, this is our A is 8 meters. 8 meters. That's value for A. We have gotten A to be 8 meters. You cannot use this. It's a right angle triangle. You can use Pythagoras theorem to solve for Q. When you now get your Q, that Q is equals to K because they have the same length. Okay, WR equals to SZ. Now let's solve that. Now using Pythagoras theorem, using Pythagoras theorem, we are having line TR squared, line TR squared, which is, let's start with hypotenuse line hypotenuse squared equals the longest side squared equals line TW squared plus line, let's use the name opposite, equals to opposite line opposite squared plus line adjacent squared. Hypotenuse is represented with A. You can still write it to be line TR squared equals to, that is the longest side is always, the square of the longest side is equal to the square of the addition of the square of the two other smaller sides. Okay, the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the addition of the square of the other two sides, because the longest side square is equal to the addition of the square of the two other sides. Now you now have TW squared plus WR squared. What's our TR? We use A, is A. Okay, let's use A squared equals, what do you have here? You can use X. Use X to represent that. That's X squared plus, use any letter, plus Q squared. Now let's represent what we have as a number. We have 8 squared equals, what's our X squared? That's 4. 4 squared plus Q. That's what we need, Q squared. You collect the like terms. When you collect the like terms, you're having 8 squared minus 4 squared equals Q squared. Q squared equals, what our 8 squared are 64 minus 4 squared are 16. When you subtract that, 64 minus 16, remove 6 from 4, impossible. Borrow 1 from 6 to 4, that's 14. This one remains 5. 14 minus 6, that's 8. 5 minus 1, that's 4. 48. Find the square root. Q squared equals 48. Find the square root of both sides. These two cancel the square root. Your Q now equals square root of 48. When you press your calculator, the square root of 48 is 6.928 meters. 6.928 meters. When you do that, can now see that Q is equals to K. They have the same length, equals to 6.928 meters. Now, since you have gotten your K to be 6.92 meters, you are to look. The first question says that we should find line RT. Sorry, you have gotten that. You can see RT. Here you can say therefore for the question one. Therefore, the distance RT, line RT, so RT equals 8 meters. That's the first question. The second question, the distance of the foot from the taller poles from P, correct to trace in a figure. You can see distance from the foot of the taller pole from P. Y now equals K plus 20, which is what our K, 6.928 plus 20. You have it to be equals to 20 plus 6.92, you have it 26.928 meters. Therefore, Y equals to trace signal figure. You can see 1, 2, 3. Since 2 is not up to 5, we throw it away. That's 26.9 meters to 3 significant figure. That one stands as the second question. Solution to the second question. Why the third question? We are going to consider the triangle TSP. Consider triangle TSP. Solution to the third question. Consider triangle TSP. TSP. Let's see how the triangle looks like. This is our T, S, P. Distance from S to P is, you write real number. Don't write the approximated figure, 26.928 meters. Now, what you not do, you can from here you can even approximate it to 9. You can use 9 to 26.93. I use 26.93 meters, but don't use the one you approximated to 26.9. Okay. Now, TS, that's 7 meters, and it's a right angle triangle. Likewise, you are looking for the angle theta. Don't forget that this is our opposite. So this angle is our adjacent. We use chua, the SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. But you're having opposite and adjacent. You now say tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. Now tan theta equals what are opposite? 7 divided by 26.93. Tan theta equals what? 7 divided by 26.93. You have it 0.2599. Find the tan inverse. Theta equals tan inverse of, when you are taking tan to the other side, turn to tan inverse, 0.2599. Okay? And when you are pressing your calculator, you press second function tan before you get your tan inverse. You press the value, press your calculator, you are having 14.57 meters. And you are are told to correct to one decimal place, which is approximately 14 points. Since 7 is more than 4, we round it up as to 1 and add it to 5, come to 40.6 meter. Now put it in bracket to tell us the condition given to us is to one decimal place. Because in your exam, when you're writing, when you see this type of question in the exam, the standard question, when you refuse to change it to turn it to one decimal place as required in the question, your mark will be subtracted. Okay? Please make sure you follow the question appropriately as is being asked. That brings us to the end of the class. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more updates, and also don't forget to drop your question in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.